I want to start with a new age in the American history, the age of the automobile. It all started in 1879 when Henry was 16 years old. He went to work in Detroit, where any young mechanic can easily find an employment. Working in Detroit, Henry gained experience with engines and electricity, and by 1896 Henry created the quadricycle, which is a horse carriage with no horse that is powered by a gas engine. By 1897 Henry sold his first quadricycle after improving it, and by 1899 Henry started his own company, the Detroit Automobile Company. Henry assigned 100 workers to make the delivery wagon. Majority of the parts in the delivery wagon were produced by other companies, and every time a single delivery was late, the whole factory stopped working. First delivery wagon took 6 months to create, and no more than 20 were made the first 2 years. It is clear that Henry here has a problem in the engineering management. Henry had many orders and the demand was high, but he has a problem in production. By 1902, Henry held only 15% of his own company, and the shareholders voted to remove Henry from his company, which is now known as Cadillac. When Henry left the company, Henry changed his target to the average man, and his vision was to turning a car from a status symbol to a commodity. Henry started working and he made the Model A car, and 5 years later he made the Model T. Unlike making the delivery wagon, Henry learned the importance of a supply chain. This time he bought as many parts as he can from the same manufacturer, the Dodge Brothers Company, he used to work with while making the delivery wagon. The game changer is when Henry visited the Slaughterhouse Swift and Company in Chicago. He noticed the assembly line. Assembly line is a series of people or machines in a factory by which succession of identical items is progressively assembled. Henry did the same as Swift and Company. He opened a new factory in 1904 from the savings of the model he sold, Ford Avenue plant, to experience the assembly line. He employed 300 people, and by Ford factory started to make 25 cars a day, from 1 per 6 months to 25 per day. But Henry still wasn't using the assembly line correctly because he was making different models at the same assembly line. 1906 is the time when Ford became the top selling in America. During the Model N, during this model, Henry used the assembly line process at least to partially assemble some of his cars. This increased making cars from 1,800 to 8,400 in 1906. By 1910, Ford built 20,000. By 1913, Ford perfected the assembly line. 1916, Ford built 500,000 85 Model T cars. 1918, half of the USA were Model T until 1920. We learn from Ford's story a lot of things, but the highlights of the story are when Ford changed his vision, when he learned the importance of the supply chain after failing to make the delivery wagon, when he ordered parts from the same supplier but with bigger quantity to keep the work moving, and when he started to use the assembly line. The assembly line was a big game changer. From the things we learned in class, Henry improved by standardization. Standardization is a process of implementing and developing technical standards based on the consequence of different parties that include firms, users, interest groups, Standardization can help to maximize compatibility, interoperability, safety, repeatability, or quality. And that's what happened in Ford's story. Also, at the assembly line, Henry improved by applying interchangeable parts. Interchangeable parts are parts that are for a partial purpose identical. They are made to specifications that ensure that they are so nearly identical that they will fit into the assembly line same type. One such part can freely replace another. And let it be known that Henry Ford installed the first moving assembly line for the mass production of the entire automobile. His innovation reduced the time it took to build a car from more than 12 hours to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Ford had the product to sell with high demand, but the problem was the production of the cars.